I'm the president of our local union at Cedar Haven.
I'm Danielle Kohler. I'm also on the e-board of the union for Cedar Haven.
I want to start out with the comment that you had just made about after this is all over, you'll try to discuss what you can do. You won't try to discuss what you will do. You need to step in and do something. After all, 2014, you created this monster. I don't think you realized who you were selling it to, the nursing home. You thought, from my understanding, that it was CHR, which was the company's initials that you were selling it to, and that's in fact not even who you were selling it to. It took members like us who have no experience in politics, we have no experience in investigating, we have no experience in anything but nursing. And it took us to find out exactly, looking up who purchased Cedar Haven. And if you would have been looked into, you would have saw who purchased it. It was a gentleman who had a company that purchases nursing homes. He drives them into the ground, he sells them, and then you know what? He don't buy another nursing home in the same company name. He sells it, he starts a new company with a new name. So you can't, it's not as easy to track, but we found it. I think that should have been taken care of way back then and we wouldn't be in this situation. The residents wouldn't be in the situation they're in. Just so you know, the gentleman that owns Cedar Haven now, which is Stone Barn Holdings is the company has, it's going south, as you all know. Well, guess what? He already started a new company, Wind River Investments, or Wind River Holdings, and he's putting bids on other nursing homes. I'm not sure if you get calls from other counties who want to sell nursing homes and are looking for words of wisdom or words to tell them who, or references basically. If they're looking for references from this gentleman who owns Stone Barn Holdings. His name is Charles Blalack. You see what's going on. I know this is the first time we've sat down and talked to you, but you've seen it in the news, you've heard it on the radio. It's not a good situation. And I don't feel he should be getting references to purchase other nursing homes from other counties who are going to end up in the same dilemma that we're in. I don't know if I can give you each a card. Would that be all right? We wanted to show you that this is not just us. These are families, employees, and many other people that have nothing to do. They don't have residents that live at Cedar Haven. They don't have family there. They don't have employees that work there. These are just regular citizens who are your constituents, who feel Cedar Haven is going through a crisis and they need help from you. And I know that you are going to say there's nothing we can do, it's not in our hands anymore, but I don't believe that.
How would you know that that's what we would say?
Well, because I hear things that come.
I'm keeping an open mind, trying to find out what you're asking of us and trying to work with.
Okay.
So no, I don't assume that.
All right, I apologize, I won't assume. But there's got to be something that can be done to bring this man back to the table, to negotiate, which he refuses to do, and to stop him from, excuse the language, raping the employees of Cedar Haven, because that's what he's doing. Like I said, we are not the only ones who feel that way, the employees and the staff, because these are all signed by Lebanon County residents who are all voters. There are over 1,260 cards that have been filled out in just a 2-week period when we decided to come here. And we thought, you know what, we need to show them that it's not only us. So I just feel that something needs to be done. You could step in and do something. I was under the impression that when the sale was first done, part of the agreement was that CHR would run the facility. I was under the impression that that was part of the agreement in that sale. Well, after a year, Mr. Blalack booted him out, and they are not running the facility. It is Stone Barn that's running the facility. He's taking like $3 million since he's bought the place that he would have made in profits, and he's sending it to his other companies, and he's calling them management fees. That would have been a profit if he wouldn't have sent them to other companies. $3 million profit. I'm not talking about a little bit of money. So I'm gonna give you to Danielle.
All right, my name is Danielle Kohler. I was born here in Lebanon County, raised here all my life. I've been an employee at Cedar Haven for almost 18 years. I started off there as a CNA, and then I went and got my LPN degree in 2004. I decided to take a job at Cedar Haven and then stay there for 18 years because I care about the people there. The residents are like family to me. I don't just know their medical needs, I know their stories, their jokes, their heartbreaks, and their joys. I think we all deserve such care. So I am here today as a striker, but also as someone who has a personal stake in what happens to the residents at Cedar Haven. In fact, for the last 2 years, my aunt, Marianne Oblinski, has been a resident at Cedar Haven. My aunt has cerebral palsy. She is unable to walk and she cannot take care of herself. Mr. Blalack, the owner, is trying to tear apart the family that has made Cedar Haven a 5-star facility. He is doing this by provoking a strike. The Labor Board has informed us that Mr. Blalack's company violated federal labor laws and that they intend to take our unfair labor practice charges to complaint. He is also doing this by cutting costs of patient care while increasing what he spends on management services. Since taking over Cedar Haven, Mr. Blalack made sure his out-of-state management company took $2.8 million in fees. Meanwhile, he has asked us, the people who deliver the care at Cedar Haven, to take severe cuts to health care and paid time off. We do not think our elected representatives should sit by and let the owner of Cedar Haven destroy 300 good jobs in Lebanon County. If you care about about your voters, the people who live at Cedar Haven, and the folks like me who spent their careers there, you will find a way to get involved and protect our jobs and our families.
It's not because health insurance went up. A lot of people say, well, health insurance is going up everywhere. That was not the case in this situation. I saw one of Joellen's videos, thank God you do that, of one of your meetings when, Mr. Phillips, you had said, oh, since the sale of Cedar Haven, everything's so wonderful. This nursing staff is making so much more money, and I couldn't tell you everything you said. I know I watched it several times, but you had said how everything was going very well at Cedar Haven, that the nursing staff had gotten a pay increase and everything else. I want to just enlighten you a little bit about that pay increase. The pay increase that we got when he took everyone up, he took CNAs up to $15 an hour, and he took LPNs up to $22 an hour. Nursing staff that have been there for 30 plus years, they dedicated their life to Cedar Haven and the residents that live there. We have several members who, one in particular, who is an LPN, she has been there over 30 years. When they brought everyone up to $22 an hour, that gave her a 3-cent raise. She was making $21.97 at that point.
That's me.
Exactly. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. That gave her a 3-cent raise. Later, when raises came out where he wanted to give everyone a 50-cent raise, that was only for anyone who did not qualify under the going up for the CNA or the LPN status to going up. So her 3% raise, her 3-cent raise was her only raise she got last year. And this year she gets none.
Well, that's where, with the prison next door in Renova, we're sort of tuned into the salary competition, and we were at $16.83 an hour for our LPNs, and we just went to $20 because of Cedar Haven being at 22, and how difficult it is for us to attract. So that's quite a jump from 1683 to 22. And when you said a 2% raise, I was like, well, gee, that's not what I understood. The LPNs got more than 2%.
That was the first contract after he got.
Yeah, the
so-
first contract.
But still quite
The
a.
second contract, but that is for the ones that are just coming in.
And
So my LPN that just jumped up that 3 cents to make $22 an hour
Yes.
is making the exact same money as somebody who's just hired off the street.
Yes.
And
Just
she's been
came out
there
of
for
nursing school.
over 30
Okay,
years,
I'm understanding it better, but that's still,
right?
for us to be competing next door is where I was, what I was referring to. And the other thing this is all I have to go on, is that Cedar Haven went from 4-star to 5-star in terms of the evaluation. And I thought that indicated the quality of care had been very good. So I was basing my remarks on
Right.
1683
to $22, and the fact that you went from 4-star to 5-star when it was under the county. So, I mean, those were from one, what I was referring.
Cedar Haven is a 5-star facility, but the people that are in this room are what makes Cedar Haven a 5-star facility.
And
I agree.
actually, that's taken into effect every year. They go back over the year to decide what star you are. And with everything that's happened there now, I guarantee when that happens next year, it will no longer be a 5-star
Yeah,
facility.
but
The other thing is, with your employees over at the prison, do they pay for their health insurance?
no,
No. See, we might be getting a couple more bucks an hour, but
But we're also
we're
paying
paying
out of
Yeah.
pocket.
a ridiculous amount of
Yeah.
money. Plus, we all know what the county benefits were like.
With the $5,000 deductibles per person.
Yeah.
And
But-
I've worked there half my life.
The CNAs or the LPNs over at the jail don't have half of what they do.
I'm not
No,
disputing, I'm
right,
just
no,
saying,
right.
the numbers, we need to
Right.
bring ours up because of the competition in the marketplace and all the vacancies around Lebanon County and the LPN area. We had to realize that we weren't competitive.
But we understood, the point is, we understood that we made less money when we were county-owned, but it was worth it because of the benefits.
Yes.
So it made it all worth it. This gentleman is under the impression that if he gives us a couple more dollars an hour, we get so much less in benefits that at the end of the day, I might be making that much more an hour, but I'm bringing home less an hour. My paycheck is less now than it was not 10 years ago when I started. And that, it's not right that we seem to be going backwards. And, you need to step in and help us do something.
And not just for the
For the-
staff, but for the
yeah,
residents.
for the residents.
Absolutely.
I mean, these
For
poor
the
residents,
for the
I
family
appreciate
members.
these family members who came today and spoke on their family's behalf, and that is wonderful. But what about all those residents in there who don't have family? Because we were their family.
That's right.
And they have no voice to speak about what's going on or what's happening to them.
That's what I said, it must be very difficult for you to stand by and allow all that to happen.
It's very difficult. Walking out that day was very difficult. It's not something we wanted to do.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'd just like to say I'm really sad to hear all of this today. Supporting you is extremely important because you're still family even though you're no longer working for the county. I've done it in my own small ways, but I certainly will write to the state and with the commissioners, if we do a joint, that would be wonderful. But I do have a question. Sue, I think you said about physical therapy that your brother wasn't getting. Did they no longer have a physical therapy department?
Oh,
That
yes.
was our,
That was
that one
physical
brought in the
therapy.
most money for us, that
This
department.
was restorative. This is done by aides, okay, where they will help somebody get up and maybe walk down the hall. They need to get exercise, those that can still walk. Okay, so for almost 11 weeks, they had nobody. Then they had 2. I mean, I complained all that time. And after the 5th week and I saw my brother alone, where his knees were getting stiff. Because I take him away, I see. And I started him going up and down the steps at the, in the
Yeah, I
vet
heard you
clinic.
say that, and I was just wondering.
And then they started getting, they have 2 people, that's all I know
2
so
people.
far. You can't do all the residents in there that could walk a little bit.
What it is, after they're back with physical therapy, they're done, then they go to the restorative program. That's where we go on the floors and walk them,
Right.
exercise them, or what they need. It's what therapy tells us to do then.
Right.
So the nurses are supposed to supplement what physical therapy does, is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, now I understand.
And they do get a reimbursement for that.
Yeah,
And if it's part of the care plan, it must be done in order for them to get reimbursement. And I'm not gonna make any accusations, but I would bet money that if she went to look at her brother's files, that it would probably state that he had his restorative, so that they could get their money.
Oh, yeah.
So I would,
Not only the restorative therapy, but their baths.
yeah,
They are all checked off that it was done. Like the day they didn't know Mike was in bed, it was checked off that Mike was in bed, but Mike was not in bed.
do you, like, with your cell phone, take pictures of those records, so you have a file of your own?
Me?
They can't take
They
pictures.
can't.
It's on-
No, we
it's
can't
on
see
computers
those.
now.
It's medical records.
Well, I thought
As
she
well
said
as
she
can't
saw the
get to see
records.
if the
She could see them.
documentation
They could
is
ask
good.
to see medical records. They are all on the computer now, though.
But not public.
But we should be able to see them.
no, if they're
Family can ask.
POA, they
POA,
can
yes.
see it if
Yes.
they're,
No, but
if
I'm
they're
saying
POA.
They're not public.
Yeah.
No, not for the public.
But they could be sent to the Department of Health, is that not right?
If they were to ask for a copy of their
Yeah.
records, and then if they wanted to send them,
And the only reason I say that is because there are still a handful of people at Cedar Haven that used to work there that didn't go out on strike because they're part-time or for whatever reason. And the only reason I say that is because the flustered aide mentioned to me that so-and-so was marked he had a bath, but we all know he didn't. And that's all hearsay to me. Like, I have pictures of unattended meds, I don't have pictures of records. I asked for my husband's med records when he got his medication, and it looks to me like he got his meds, but if I'm there and I didn't see him get his meds, like, where are those meds?
Well, that's insurance fraud, Medicare fraud, so, I mean, there's
So
some
that-
things-
I can't.
which he's known for.
Well, yes, well, Mr. Blalock, you know,
I'm just saying if that's accurate, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, you understand though, like, part of the problem is if we're not there and don't, right, if people aren't there to witness it, part of the recourse of the DOH and of the ombudsman is to go in and interview the resident. And if the resident is not, you know, lucid or verbal, like, that's not right. And so for a while, the gentleman that Teresa spoke about, who was his own power of attorney, was next to her husband, and so he was documenting, right? And he actually sent a letter to the Department of Health, to the area hospitals, to a whole bunch of people saying, you know, this is what happened to me and this is what happened to the person next to me, right? Because he has, you know, the ability to do that, right? So that's part of the sort of frustration in filing sort of routine complaints, is that the follow-up is to then go in and interview people. Like, there's not a lot of ways of documenting some of this stuff that's kind of happening on an ongoing basis.
and then it becomes a he said, she said sort of thing. I said this person didn't get their medicine, and they come 2 days later, but they have no way of knowing if they really, you know what I mean? So they have no way of knowing that. But for some reason, they do get a heads up when they're coming, because all of a sudden, when they're coming, there's all these people here.
And this is a private company, but I'd be willing, if the other folks, commissioners would be willing to write a joint letter trying to get people back to the table and put public pressure on both sides to get to talking and to put some light on some of these issues of care. So I'd be willing to do that.
Absolutely, I'll make that motion.
Well, I think we need to consider exactly what it is that we want to put
Well, we
into
can
that.
work out the details. We can have a
I'm
motion
not-
to
I'm
write the
not,
letter.
Folks, I'm not opposing that. In fact, I said that initially, that we would take a look at that. And I still am willing to do that, but I don't want to make a motion that says we're going to write a letter because the three of us need to agree on what is in that letter. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Well, we can, or we can each write our own, and we can send it all in one envelope. But
No,
I'd like to write one from the three of
I
us.
think
But
we
whatever,
should
I think
write
we
one.
should have a motion to write the letter, and we work out the details.
Okay.
Once we have the motion, we can talk about it. We can't talk about it if it has to come to a vote. If we vote, then we can talk about it. That is the law. That is the sunshine law.
Commissioner Litz, I don't think you need to lecture me on the law today. All right, thank you. I do want to, Penny, clarify just a few things. We did do a lot of research, and we visited 3 different nursing homes owned by 3 companies that made offers for Cedar Haven. We turned down an offer higher than CHR's offer, and we did not sell the nursing home to Stone Barn Holdings or Charles Blalack. We sold the nursing home to CHR, who owns Lancaster counties and has a very good reputation there, as we came to understand. And they manage Berks County's nursing home, and I know the commissioners in Berks County very well, and they recommended CHR, and we're very happy with CHR. So we did do the right things and made the right decision and sold to the right company. Unfortunately, the man who owned CHR, Mike DiArcangelo, committed to buy Cedar Haven, but if you'll recall, the closing was put off for 2 or 3 months during that process, and he got himself in a financial situation where, as I understand, Mr. Blalack came in and had the money to carry Mike DiArcangelo through the process, and after the fact, because he had that much money invested, exerted force on Mike DiArcangelo. So that's the true scenario of what actually happened. So
I believe that Stone Barn's name was on the actual paperwork for the sale. So Stone Barn's name was on the paperwork of the sale.
CHR only earned
paperwork that I saw.
CHR only owned 5%. The other 95% was Stone Barn
It wasn't
Holdings.
even CHR, it was DiArcangelo himself.
Right.
So before
But if-
the sale was finalized, there was clearly another owner involved, and there
And did
was.
you do the research on him?
That's our question is, did you not ask where the 95% stake was coming from? Because that's,
no, I don't think that was known before the sale.
It was on the paperwork.
I'm not saying that you knew exactly who it was, I'm saying you knew it wasn't his money, that he had a partner. Because nursing homes are not any old asset. Nursing homes are regulated, the ownership has to be public on the federal site, on the state, like that stuff is all, has to be transparent. So, there has to be a moment in which, like, you know where the money's coming from.
Okay.
And the gentleman who offered the higher bid,
Yes.
he bought another county home around the area and is doing fantastic. Remodeled the
So
facility.
he should have took the higher bid.
Is taking great care of his employees
And his residents.
and his residents. And here we are, in a funk.
But I do want you to understand that we did made appropriate decisions and had checked out CHR. In fact, Commissioner Litz suggested it, and we used CHR to do the study, and that's how we ended up with CHR. So they came to us very well recommended, and that's who we made the sale to CHR.
When we had the president of nursing, and we had some other folks from Cedar Haven with us on those visits, so that was all part of the,
That was administration that you had with you.
oh, we had the president of the union was with us.
But we have collective bargaining agreements with CHR and other parts of the state. And that's not who, right? We know that they are not the ones
The culprits.
that can deal with this situation. And you know, I think that regardless, I think that, you know, the fact that there was that it wasn't clear who exactly was going to control it until after the deal was done, I think that is something that, you know, if other counties come to you guys and say, here's this guy, Charles Blalack, he wants to buy our nursing home, I mean, I think that should be, that's part of the facts, right? And I think that, you know, there is a pending litigation between CHR and Mr. Blalack over what happened, and they're being booted from the facility. It's filed in Montgomery County, it's pending, you know,
Okay.
I encourage you to read
Well,
the complaint.
I certainly appreciate that, and certainly we would not have intentionally done anything that would create this situation. You know, I can certainly speak to that. And I would entertain, Commissioner Litz, you already made a motion.
It's on the
that
floor, it hasn't been withdrawn.
Second.
would you clarify the language of the motion for me?
The language of the motion is for the three commissioners to work out a letter with our administrator to send to Charles Blalack, and to, I'd like to also include in that motion to notify the Department of Health on the behalf of the residents about what the testimony we heard here today.
Okay. All right, are you comfortable with that as well, Commissioner?
Sure, and I was even thinking beyond that too, if it could be used as a letter to the editor to put public pressure or some other way of getting it out to the public through the Merchandise or the Daily News or both.
I would amend the motion, accept the amendment to the motion to also do a press release with the letters.
Okay. All right.
You guys have been so brave to, first of all, be out there, but also to come here today as organized as you are. You've really made a very powerful presentation. You have gotten all three of us to agree to speak up on your behalf, and I commend you for that strength. Congratulations.
All right. We do have a motion on the floor, so is there any other discussion appropriate to the motion? Because I'd be happy to entertain that. All right.
We'll just get to work.
The motion is that the three commissioners would sit together and write a letter appealing to Mr. Blalack to come back to the table, addressing the care issues and the health issues that you're concerned with and we're concerned with as well, and to also make that letter so that it's of multi-purpose. It will go to Mr. Blalack, it will go to the Department of Health, will be used as a press release, and anyone else that we find appropriate to send that letter to. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that letter will be written post haste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.